short synopsis of The Jaguar Within by Rebecca R. Stone, Shamanic Trance in Asian, Central, and South American Art. By ancient, the author means pre-Colombian, as pre-European contact. Art, and we're going to be looking at the human animal transformations. The jaguar plays a central role, as we'll find out. This is mostly an attempt to find a phenomenological context for artifacts from the Nazca and the Moche cultures, specifically the shaman effigies. And so how the plant-induced trance, the ayahuasca plant, motivated artistic depiction and was both reflective of, stimulated the depiction of the art itself. Stone acknowledges that the term shaman originated with observations of the Evanikil people in Siberia, but the term became to be applied to all people who practice something similar in other cultures. Now we're going to be looking at Michael Winkelman, who takes a biogenic perspective and argues that shamanism itself is an extension of our innate evolutionary adaptations. Stone is attempting to create a framework for interpreting material culture, and it's a dual argument that material culture is influenced by and also reflects the induced trances. Now, the museum is a museum of Berkeley, California, Phoebe A. Hearst Museum. So the artifacts are the bottleneck vase, the ecstatic shaman of the Nazca culture. We're also going to be looking briefly at the blinded shaman, Moche blind figures, the seated Moche ocelot shaman, and we're also going to be looking at the oldest blackware Cupicinic culture, snake vessel. With a combination of ethnography and archaeological interpretation, Stone has recreated the thematic elements of a trance, so truth construction, dualistic perspective, sensory flux, light, and color. Trances produce heightened emotional states, which create strong memories. We also have the phenomenon of abilities only accessed under the influence of trances, and collective experiences create an extra real character to the information in a trance. Winkelman states that altered states of consciousness help to heal our neurological state and also affect the opiate and immune responses. As a social practice, the effect is the strengthening of social identity. Trance states create a metaphysical dualism, and ethnographically reports from the other side are extremely detailed and intriguing, which Winkelman would interpret as sort of charisma of shamans, which aids in leadership function. Sensory flux refers to synesthesia and also the distortions that plant-induced trances produce. Sensations of flying and out-of-body experiences help create a sense of journey and also help to dissolve a sense of self, which shamanism helps to actually reinvigorate. Winkelman interprets drumming as a display of dominance, so shaman is a form of leadership that integrated society. Colors across cultures the values are very subjective, but Stone has identified purple as being sort of associated with outworldliness. Red visions are also tied to specific plants, and blue and green as well as red are considered highly prestigious colors according to a textile comparison. Winkelman demonstrates that to engage with culture is to engage with a psychocultural system, and the shaman rituals and altered states of consciousness directly, and the colors directly affect our serotonin and our cortisol levels in the brain, which affect emotion. Encountering geometric forms is a common experience of trances and also a common motif of Andean art. 4 different types have been identified. Specifically, the spiral has been identified with snakes, which represent the ayahuasca vine, which is used to create the substance that alters the consciousness. And that was determined through ethnography. It can't be overstated how important jaguars are to shaman practices in the Andes, because all the cultures believe that shamans can become jaguars. Like the Koji call themselves jaguars, the people of northern Colombia, Tuqueno, northwestern Amazon, and also the Ashanaka of Peru. Now, Winkelman would interpret certain hypnotic practices involved in dominance displays, but birds and harpy eagles were also important with regards to journeys and farsightedness and the concept of like a bird's eye view in art. Via human-animal transformation interaction, a feeling of oneness and identification with nature is produced. Catholic shamans today report interactions with Catholic saints, however, instead of animal interactions or transformation in trances. Now, religion is debated between Winkelman and Atran. Atran argues that religion is a representation of our own cognitive abilities and is purely culturally produced. However, Winkelman argues that religion and shaman practices are a pre-adaptation that have evolutionary antecedents because they expanded our own social group beyond strictly kinship. The Nazca culture bottleneck phase has been repaired extensively, revealing that it was important. Now, the doubling of the shaman on the vase reveals a dualistic perspective theme. The position of the shaman, in order to line up with an outside observer, creates a sort of sympathetic motion, sort of sympathetic trance. Trying to create a trance again is another theme of the art. The figure is very skinny, so a state of fasting helps create a stronger trance. The androgynous figure has a navel with lines from it, revealing a sort of another eye-seeing concept. The free-flowing hair subverts our expectations by not actually lining up. So ideas of like ego dissolution come to play. And the facial expression, the expression of a fierceness, Stone interprets as akin to the expression of a jaguar. Now, the blind figures on the moche, broadly speaking, this is very common. They reveal the dualistic perspective of closed eyes seeing, the idea that visions occur in an outworld that don't depend on our physical bodies here. Taking a look at the seated moche oscillate figure shaman, about 200 600 AD, this has been dated. So the Stone interprets it as having human eyes. Now the spots are reversed on an oscillate, so it is to this idea of distortion of reality. No, the collar around its neck is actually the collar used on prisoners that are about to be executed ritualistically. So the shaman spirit here is thought to be represented as being subdued, probably by a stronger jaguar shaman. So we see that the shaman representations reflect an animal hierarchy. Now the other artifact, the two-snake blackware vessel, the older one. So the dualistic perspective is represented by the depiction of two snake heads connected through abstract geometric lines that require the viewer to intuit the actual design itself. So it gets to this idea of distortion and dissolution of the self and sympathetic sort of magic. Now the heads have been interpreted as being inherently feline. So thank you for watching. Take care. Kyle, Angry Archaeologist.